What's up, guys, gals, and non-binary pals? My name is Naomi. Welcome to House of Miscellania. Today, I'm coming at you with a WIP in chat. WIP stands for Work in Progress. For those who are new to the channel, welcome. Those who are coming back to see me, welcome on back. I hope that you're doing well. Today, I have lots to talk about, so I'm just going to get right into it, honestly, just because. Starting with the tools that I'm using. This is a pen from Diamond Pen Pal. You've seen it lots of times. This is the Satura pen. It's honestly like my favorite. Matches my nails. I love it. You can find Diamond Pen Pal over on Etsy. Links to everything will be down in the description. In my multi-placer here, I'm going to be using Putty Crocker's Eggnog. I almost said flavored, scented putty. That one is wonderful. And then in my single placer, I always use Ghost from Diamond Painting Daily. And I have loaded up Ghost, which I use a lot for ABs, things like that. I have loaded that up into this Peachy Keen pen, which also has a rattle inside. I love it, but I put that into the multi-placer and the single placer. And then I am using a tray from Firefly. I love this. Look at it. It's got fishes on the top of it. It has a removable lid and a removable trash tray, which I tend to do and set aside so I can put trash in it. It has an open and close pour spout, and then this hole right here in the top, you can put your diamond painting pen in so it doesn't roll away, which works beautifully when you need it to. The tarot cards, the Fairies Oracle, I will bring up later for those who are familiar. I always read a tarot card at the end as sort of a thought for the week. And then the diamond painting that I am working on is Evening Melodies by Abraham Hunter from Diamond Art Club. I'm working at it like sideways, so we're actually, I think we're like right in this area right here. Yeah, right there. And that is from Diamond Art Club. I think I said that. Regardless. Anyways, I'm going to just get right into it so we can get started. I have lots to talk about, and I don't want to be here for 3 hours, you know what I'm saying? I just want to do my 1 hour, but things of interest that I wanted to talk about first and foremost. One, it's been a normal week for me. I've told you before, like basically when it rains, it pours. I've either got a lot of things going on or kind of nothing going on. And with the weather getting better and better all the time, we go on more walks and we try to be outside more often. And so that's pretty much how it's been, you know, when we can get out. Lately, we've had a cold spell where we had like nice 65-degree weather, and then all of a sudden a cold wind blew through, stayed around, and now like night times especially, it's been down in like the 40s. But during the afternoons, it's been windy. Well, Dustin and I decided to go for a drive instead, and then we took Beans along with us because we usually do. And he was making some whiny noises. He wanted to get out of the car. He wanted to go for a walk and probably relieve himself, go to the bathroom. And while we were in the car, we're like, let's go down to the river and, you know, we'll just walk down by the river because he likes to go down there. And so we do that. We get out of the car, we're wandering. There's lots of activity down by the river where it comes to like birds, ducks, things like that. We're always looking for this group of pelicans that shows up every year now. And well, we've also been seeing like an array of different kinds of waterfowl. And one in particular is well, let me back up a little bit. About a week and a half ago, I mentioned to Dustin that I had seen a mallard that dove into the water and, you know, like dove down. And he's like, yeah, I've seen the diving ducks. And I was like, yeah, the mallards. Yeah, they go down and, you know, they might eat a little algae. They're down there for a couple of seconds, but I didn't realize that they like full on go down in. I thought they just dip their heads. And he's like, no. I mean like a duck that dives under the water. And I was like, okay. Well, So that said, we get to the river, and just as we're walking up to the embankment, it like goes down into the river. We see this duck, which at first I thought was maybe a mallard, or we've got wood ducks, we've got all kinds of ducks down there. And all of a sudden, this dark duck heads to the water. It flies down, it flaps its wings, and it's like flapping its wings and its feet on the top of the water. All of a sudden, it goes woof down in to the water, dove in. Dustin starts counting. And we get to 45 seconds before I realize, like, this duck is gone. I was like, did we just witness a duck, like, off itself in front of us? Because it still has not returned. So I'm like, I'm going to the Google machine. I'm trying to figure out what in the heck's going on. Like, is this duck gone? Is it, like, it possibly never coming back? Because we never saw it pop its head up anywhere. Really confused. I'm like, Dustin, it turned into a fish. Like, clearly we just saw a flying fish. It flew into the water, and now it is a fish. Or it was eaten by a fish. Or it got sucked in by the undertow or whatever, because we never saw it come back up. Well, apparently, ringneck ducks are a diving type of duck, and they can stay underwater for 2 to 3 minutes. I would be panicking at 15 seconds. So I was like, what the hell? Ugh. It was amusing to see, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure we just saw that duck go, well, I've had enough. Goodbye, world. And that was interesting. That happened earlier this afternoon, so it was like really fresh in my mind. But yeah, other than that, it's been kind of, like I said, normal week for me. Here is something that is of interest, and I'll put in a picture for you because today is a special day. When I'm recording this, it's Tuesday, so you're seeing it on Wednesday. Dustin showed me that as of 6 years ago today, we got baby Sugar. So I will pop a couple of pictures of baby Sugar up on the screen for you so you can see. I had gotten Sugar let's see, it's April. So right after my mom passed away, and I've told the story about how Sugar got her name before, in that my oldest had given her that name because my mom used to have a dog named Sugar. It was a black and white little Lhasa Apso or a Shih Tzu or something. Regardless, and my oldest used to call my mom Grandma Sugar. Well, she had passed away in March on the 6th. And so when we got Sugar, it just seemed like the right thing to name her Sugar because I got her in honor of my mom. And anyways, so there is baby Sugar for you. She is 6 years old now, and I've shown her on lives, and she gets sugar shamed when she decides to bark for no reason. Is she anywhere nearby? Hold, please. Hold. Oh, you just missed her tongue sticking out of her mouth. Here's Sugar now. She's 6 years old. Look at her. She had her tongue sticking out, and you missed it. But that was baby Sugar, and this is big Sugar. She's a little chihuahua. Maybe she does still kind of have her tongue sticking out. She does. Oh, that's my baby girl. She's very, very sweet. She was just asleep, and I just woke her up for no good reason. All right, anyways. So, yeah, that was some fun news, too, finding out that, Sugar is now 6 officially. We got her when she was probably 12 weeks old. They didn't want to let her go. I don't know why. They didn't want to let her go at 8 weeks. They wanted to wait until she was 12 weeks. And so I ended up getting her a little bit later than normal. Anyway, very, very, very good dog. And she got me through a lot of really hard times when I was first getting sober. And so she's been a good dog to have around. And honestly, I feel like in a lot of ways she's a really good emotional support animal for myself, for my son. You know, she's just a good dog to have around because she fits in a lap. Whenever anybody's crying, she's always trying to like lick the tears off your face or lick the snot out of your nose or whatever. But she's been really, really good. Um, I also wanted to talk a little bit, because I brought it up last week, that I wanted to, because it is Autism Awareness Month, I wanted to talk about autism. A little bit educational and a little bit personal experience because uh, I know there's lots of information that you can get out there about autism spectrum disorder, but everybody's experience is very different as it is a spectrum of a disorder. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience and I mean in some ways even my kids and what that's like, because there was a long time where autism spectrum disorder was looked at as kind of, well, one, it was looked at something that needed a cure, right? And then in other ways, it's been looked at as, well, you have this or you have this or whatever. But they've realized over time that there is a spectrum to it, that you can be on very opposite ends of the autism spectrum and experience life in different ways. And I would never equate my experience to those who are on a different side of the spectrum as I am. I did at least want to talk about my own experiences and what it has been like for me. I don't think I really thought about autism spectrum disorder as a diagnosis until much later in my life. For those who are unfamiliar, and we hear the word autism thrown around a lot, but we don't really know it. Like some people might not really understand what that means because some people may look at it as a form of like disability in the same way as, let's say, like a severe intellectual disability. It's not quite the same thing, though some people view it as the same because of the way that it may present in a different person. It's not actually a disease, it's a neurotype. That's why people who are neurodivergent are autistic, known as autistic, and those who are neurotypical, or people whose brains respond, air quote, typically. It's a difference in the way the brain processes information. Okay, it's not like something that needs a cure. It's something that should be like understood, right? And the spectrum doesn't go from like less autistic to more autistic. It's like different traits show up in different combinations and different intensities for different people. So like it's not like oh, well, I'm less autistic than this or this person. It just means that my particular form of autism isn't the same as someone else's. And I think the reason that I am a person who was not diagnosed until I was into my 40s is because of what's known as masking. And it's a very real thing. And it's really exhausting, to be honest with you. Uh, Autistic individuals, especially women, are, and also non-binary people, they learn to mask their traits so that we fit into social norms, often at a really high cost to our own mental health, because we work very hard to appear normal, right? Uh, it's it's not like you can look at an autistic person and just know immediately, oh, they're autistic. Now, there are traits that you might see in a person in their behavior or things like that, and you might go, that seems like a person who may be on the spectrum. But it's not simple to diagnose, which is why the testing for it isn't something that you go in and they go, okay, do you have this? Do you do this? Do you do this? Okay, you're autistic. It's not at all like that. And historically, it's been severely misdiagnosed. It was used the first time in like the early 20th century, but it was often confused with schizophrenia until the like 1960s, I believe. And as I said, with women masking better, our traits don't often align with the stereotypical male presentation of autism. So it's hard too, because especially with women, autism can appear as though it is a borderline personality disorder or other such things. And I think the biggest thing for me, like one of the, I guess, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the telltale signs is focused interests or special interests. It essentially is a person who becomes hyper focused on certain things, and these special interests can kind of, at the exclusion of like legitimately everything else, can become really special to a person with autism. And when it comes to diamond painting, it's definitely a thing. It's a thing that I do every day. It's a thing that I talk about every day. It's a thing that I learn more and more and more and more and more about every day. And so I think it can be both a blessing and a curse in that way. But the deep focused interests, like that's been a thing since I was very, very young. But what I really wanted to talk about is, like, one, the fact that I didn't even know that I personally was autistic until I was an adult person. And that is actually very typical, especially of women. A lot of women don't get diagnosed until they're in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and even later sometimes. And that's because autism research and diagnostic criteria are largely based on boys. So, you know, the way that maybe a boy who was autistic or had ADHD or what have you in school looked very different from the way an autistic little girl would behave, or non-binary person in their youth. And I always knew that I was like different but I didn't know what was wrong with me, or wrong, I should say, with me. I really developed the ability to mask early. And masking is like playing pretend. I love acting. It's something that I'm really good at. It's something that I can become really hyper focused on. I remember I used to get so hyper focused on someone's performance in a play or a movie or a TV show that I would often be too distracted by their sometimes poor acting that I couldn't even focus on what was happening. Like I would have to like remember to suspend disbelief because I was looking at the person and I'm like, that is not the way a person would behave or whatever. So that was always an issue. I'm trying to find my crystals. Oh no, I'm dropping stuff. One moment. Found them. It's masking is just hiding your traits so that you fit in socially. And that often, too, was about studying, like, social behavior and mimicking facial expressions and rehearsing conversations or not behaving in a certain way in public. And, you know, the idea that a person who is autistic is antisocial or does not like to socialize is very, very far from true. There are lots of autistic people who really love to interact with people and love to be social and be loved just like any other person. And so it's hard because, you know, people can think you're really normal, right? But they don't always understand how really exhausting that a conversation can be when you're overthinking everything that you say and everything that you do and every way that you're looking, and it's a lot. And when you're overstimulated, sometimes it can look like being antisocial when really it's just like an overwhelmed feeling. I was not antisocial, and I do though have this battery that needs recharging after I've been social for too long, because I've got to essentially, I don't know, get myself back together. There's also other signs were like sensory sensitivities, and I've talked about synesthesia in another WIP and chat, but it's down to even like the sensory feeling of certain fabrics or certain sounds, certain lights can be really upsetting. Crowded rooms, like some things can really feel like torture, especially fabrics I don't like. But I think a lot of times in relationships, my biggest problem was always like wanting too hard, right? So I I can get really emotional when I feel like I'm being excluded or othered, or if I feel like somebody's upset with me or whatnot. And so, like, for me growing up, it wasn't as bad necessarily as it could have been if I was growing up now, because we didn't have social media to compare ourselves to 40,000 other people on the planet. We had our, classroom of students, or our, middle school or high school or grade school. And I only had, X size social group, where now being online, and especially being on YouTube, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, then you probably have heard me talk a lot about how I overthink things that I post, or I overthink things that I do or say or whatnot. And when I'm judged harshly, or when somebody says something critical, sometimes I can take it really, really personally. And then I start looking for patterns in the way that a relationship might be going, and think that, a person hates my guts because they've ignored something I've said a couple too many times, or, oh, that's weird. You like everybody else's posts, but when I post something, you don't put a like on it, or whatever. It's really strange. And so to open myself up to the vulnerability of social media sometimes can be really devastating. And so when I decided to get sober, and I shut out all social media and really just like turned inward and tried to focus on myself, I realized how much I both loved that break and then resented it too, because then I lost all of those social connections that I'd had before, and I had to rebuild everything. And it's not easy for a person to rebuild those kinds of relationships. I was telling you guys before about the show Love on the Spectrum, and one, like I said, it's very heartwarming. If you want a good, like, feel good thing to watch, it really is. It also is really eye-opening in the respect of, like, understanding the differences between people on the spectrum, because they show basically every type of person. And I was thinking, because there are a lot of what they call comorbidities between autism and other disorders, namely like bipolar disorder, ADHD, borderline personality disorder. Because of that, it makes me think about my parents and the type of people my parents were. My mother had borderline personality disorder. Now, do I believe that my mom could have been autistic? It is very possible. Is it highly likely? I don't know. My dad? I fully believe that my dad was autistic. But that wasn't really known about then. Both my brothers have children on the spectrum. When my oldest nephew was diagnosed, it was called Asperger's then. It's no longer referred to as Asperger's, whatever you want to call it. Now it's just a broader part of the autism spectrum. But it's essentially like social interaction and communication difficulties. There's like repetitive behaviors and interests, sensitive. It's the same. It again, it's part of a spectrum, right? It's very large. Well, that was the diagnosis back then, and now it would just be autism spectrum disorder, where it would be considered a more high functioning autism, right? Somebody who could present or mask in society very easily, or at least easily enough that you would go, okay, well, I mean, that kid's weird, but whatever. Well, that's my oldest brother's son. My older brother's son has autism spectrum disorder, but it is on the full other end of the spectrum, where he is nonverbal. He has a lot of stims or stimulations that he performs. He's very reactionary to certain sounds. He does certain repetitive behaviors. He has very deep special interests in specific things, and is really difficult to communicate with for a neurotypical person. Now, I haven't seen him in a while, so I'm not certain as to like what area of the spectrum he is on currently, if he's now doing more communicating or not. But all that being said, with both my nephews being diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and then myself, I'm sure that my brothers probably also have autism. If they have not been diagnosed, they probably should be. And my children have both at this point been diagnosed. Would it be hard for me to believe that one or both of my parents were autistic? No, not at all. And having looked back and thought about what that would, what it is, what it would have looked like, etc., I'm more and more convinced that there was probably a lot of that going on, and we just didn't know what it was. And that's really interesting, because being a parent who has autism and then a parent with autistic kids, I guess it never made communication harder. I guess it made, I communicate just fine with my kids. They communicate just fine with me most of the time. Yeah, we do have our struggles at different points, but I don't think it's anything to do with autism. I think it's everything to do with just life happens, right? But it also, I feel like at times, because I'm an overly critical person and because I'm constantly looking for patterns and I'm constantly trying to understand the world in which I live in, I think that may at times, and my kids would have to tell you whether this is true or not, but I think it also makes me critical as a parent. And so certain things don't add up, and then I get agitated or irritated, and I might not always be the best at communicating my misunderstandings or what have you. And I'm learning more and more and more all the time about what, again, just things I probably should have known, or I don't know. It's interesting because I've always had an interest in psychology. I've always had an interest in mental health issues and disorders and things of that nature, but I'm so crap at like diagnosing myself, so that when certain things were brought to my attention by a therapist, I was like, it was like turning a light switch on in a room, and I didn't realize I was sitting in the dark the whole time. Like, oh crap, I could have turned the light bulb on. I didn't even know there was a light bulb there. It's a weird place to exist because now certain things make way more sense. And I didn't realize that people thought in certain ways. And I guess the important thing to know is that, one, it's not a thing that needs to be fixed. It's something that just needs to be better understood. And so the best thing to do, honestly, is to educate yourself where you can and when you can about autism spectrum disorder generally. There is, let me get you the website. Hold one moment. I found it. Okay, so if you would like to go to, and I'll put a link down in the description for more information about autism, is the National Institute of Mental Health.org website, or .gov, excuse me, website. And it will give information about what autism spectrum disorder is, where you can learn more about it, studies, clinical trials, like all kinds of things, okay, about autism, that you can learn more and educate yourself further on it. And maybe some things that you've heard or some things that you've learned, you can possibly help somebody you know, or even you. Maybe some of the things that I've talked about in some of my WIP and chats make sense to you in a way that you're like, well, wait a minute, I didn't know that was a thing. It is really, really important because, like I said, I was in a dark room for a really long time, and I'm very, very glad that I was able to figure some stuff out. And I don't feel now like there's something wrong with me. That all said, it does, I think the one thing that sucks about having autism and knowing that I have autism is this constant frustration with regard to personal relationships, friendships especially. I'm fairly certain, and I don't know that he would ever go out of his way to be diagnosed, but I'm fairly certain that Dustin, my hetero life mate, is also autistic. Probably part of the reason that we have autistic children, or child, as was likely my ex-husband, again, because I think we were able to communicate with each other in a way we both understood. You know, easier to be with somebody who understands you and that you understand, right? But it's not so much in my, like, love relationships that I have issues. It's the relationships that I have with friends, because I don't always feel like friends of mine fully take the time to, like, hear me out, I guess. And I'll often, sometimes I feel like I'm like waved off when I feel something. I feel like I'm told, like, oh, no, you're just overthinking things. Oh no, I didn't do this, that, and the next because I think you're just looking too far into it. And it can really feel like frustrating, because I think to myself, like, it's okay. I guess the popular term for it is like gaslighting, right? I don't like that word. I don't like to use that word, mostly because I've known too many people in my life who have overused that word. But it's what it is. Like, oh no, there's nothing going on. You're just looking too far into it or whatever. But it honestly, it invalidates my feelings, and then I get pissed, right? I get upset. And I'm so very sensitive to what's being said around me, or what's being said about me, or what's being said to me, or what I feel. And so when I'm expressing to somebody like, hey, I feel like you've been acting this or this way around me, and I feel like you're angry with me, or I feel like you're disappointed in me, it comes from this place of like, I've legitimately studied the way that people behave in different situations because I'm trying to understand those patterns, and I see you doing those things. And so like, are you telling me that all of the normal ways that people behave or act or react are different for you somehow? Like, what? And then I start questioning myself and what I know or what I think I know. And then I'm like, am I being punked right now? Like, where's Ashton? For those of you who are too young to know what I'm talking about, Punked was a show in which Ashton Kutcher used to prank his friends. Okay, sorry, dating myself. But I seriously, I would look at it and go, am I nuts? I mean, I know I'm nuts, right? Like, nuts. I know I have some challenges to figuring out things, but I don't think that I'm crazy. And so it's hard because when I do bring certain things up and I'm told that I'm like overthinking things, or I'm just looking into things that don't exist or whatever, it's really hard. It's really, really hard for me to reconcile with that person, knowing that if I tell them how I feel, I'm going to be made to feel like I'm overreacting when my feelings are valid, whether they're on the money, whether they're right, whether I am just making it up, I guess, in my own head. It doesn't change the fact that something that someone said or did to me made me feel a certain way, right? And as a human being, I feel like that deserves at least some modicum of attention, in the sense of like, hey, let me apologize to you because I didn't realize that what I said or did made you feel this way. And so then I'm always overanalyzing the way that I'm feeling, and then like trying to figure out if I am overreacting or what's happening. It's hard. It's really hard, and it's really exhausting. And so I am probably a really exhausting friend to have too. When it comes to like deep relationships, I am probably really exhausting as a friend. And I'm probably really exhausting as a parent. I am probably really exhausting as a spouse. I am probably just really exhausting. And I have to reconcile that in my own way, you know? It's a weird place to be. To feel like I'm exhausting because I'm exhausted. And trying to figure out all of the time how I feel. Or if what I'm feeling is even like makes sense to the world at large, you know? It's rough. It's really rough. And I appreciate anybody who has stayed around me as a friend or as an ear or whatever, because I'm sure that I probably sound nuts most of the time. And I didn't know. I thought for a long time that a lot of that was just, I am just crappy at talking to people. Never in a million years would I have thought, oh, there's a reason that you do these things. Really, at those times, if I'm being fully honest with myself, that is when it feels like a disability. And I can be really great at every other aspect of conversation, but when it comes to having my feelings hurt, that's when it feels like a disability. And I wish it would go the hell away. It's really hard to be vulnerable because I feel like I pour my heart out, and sometimes it just goes completely unnoticed. And then when I tell somebody how I feel and they wave it off after I've been very, very vulnerable, it makes me want to run away, and I hate that. So I'm working on it all the time. I'm listening more. I'm watching for patterns because that's what I do anyways. And I'm trying to be better. Really, I'm trying to be better. But in honor of Autism Awareness Month, I thought I'd talk about that at least for a little bit and just kind of tell you what it's like to live in my head a little bit, I guess. And there's so much more to it. There really is. Like, that's just the littlest piece. That's the littlest part, the misunderstandings, the miscommunications. Like, there's just so much to it. The synesthesia is another part. I think next week, since it still technically will be April and Autism Awareness Month, I'll tell you about something funny. I'll tell you some funny stuff about autism and some of the misunderstandings that I've had with people, I think probably due in part to autism. I will probably retell the story about how I called a girl a manatee. That's not for this time. And yeah, I'll tell you something funny next time. But for this time, I'm being open, I'm being vulnerable, I'm just telling you that sometimes autism can feel like a disability. And I hate it. And I flat out hate it. But, okay, it is time. I'm going to grab out the tarot card I've already shuffled. Let's get our thought for the week. What do you think? Oh, and shows. I got to tell you about shows that I've been watching and what you should watch. Okay, give me a second, though. I've got the cards here. And, as I said, they're already shuffled, so they are ready to go. One popped right out, and it was this one. So let's see. Just want to... Oh, man. It's death, guys. Now, people who see the death card usually go, oh, God, it's death. It isn't, though. Death is actually a good card to get. So, it is death, but it's really cool looking death card. Okay. Death. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Death. Let me get a drink. I gotta drink. My mouth is dry, y'all. All right. I just want to make sure I have the right card. There we go. All right, getting a drink. 1 second. All right, got it. Death. The keywords are natural, timely endings, release, and liberation. It is right side up. Something has reached a natural ending, and there is substantial and irrevocable change in the works. Oh, I hate change. This change may be inner or outer, or most likely both. It is timely and natural, but there may be much resistance to it. Leaves fall every autumn. In the spring, the trees are green again with new leaves. Make room for the new in your life. Let the old go lovingly, gently, willingly. So, a time of change. Now, I always feel like it's a time of change in the spring anyways. I always feel like it's the best time to kind of out with the old and with the new, or updating the old and accepting the new. It's hard. I hate change, though. I really, really hate change. But I'm not, it's like, I think a part of me knows what this card is talking about. I think a part of you knows what this card is talking about too, since this is our thought for the week, right? And that is, there's something, right? There's something that really just, the pattern needs to die. Maybe the relationship needs to die. The friendship needs to die. The pattern needs to stop. Like the cycle needs to be broken. And I think, rather than, I'm one of those like all or nothing kind of people. I don't want to just give up and stop trying to make things work, but I am going to stop accepting the people who tell me that it's all in my head. After I've talked about all this stuff and how it bothers me and it makes me feel like gaslit, again, not a word that I really like to use. I don't, but I think I need to stop accepting that and just say, okay, but can you understand that it hurt my feelings and acknowledge it, please? And I haven't done that. And I think a lot of that is in advocating for myself. I'm not great at advocating for myself. I'm really great at advocating for everybody else. I always have been. But I think I need to be better at advocating for myself and asking for that change. Because if that change can't be arrived at, if it can't be reached, then maybe it is time for that particular pattern or cycle or whatever to just die, to be done, to be reborn as something new and hopefully better. And I do have confidence that if the particular relationship that I have in mind, if I bring that up and if I say exactly that and I say, hey, listen, I need you to acknowledge that I feel this particular type of way, and you don't have to accept that you had any part in it necessarily, but I need you to accept that I feel it, and that you're going to do what you can on your end to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Because I did accepted what I thought was my end in it, right? And I think it's important. I think that even for you and your thought for the week, advocating for yourself and making sure that you feel heard. Because I spent a good part of my life feeling not heard. So anyway, I hope that made sense to you. It made sense to me this time. So I'm hoping you got what you needed out of that too. That all said, you guys, I super appreciate every person who subscribes to my channel, listens to my WIP and chats, gets to know me better. It does definitely make a person feel respected and cared for. And I can often feel not that way. So I do appreciate you. If you would like to become a member of my channel, I have a couple of different levels. My tarot card level is open if anybody is interested in getting a monthly tarot card reading. That level is now open and ready. Or if you'd like to see content from me early, not usually the WIP and chats because I filmed them the night before, but if you would like to see other content from me early, then you can join the either level, honestly. But that all being said, if you don't want to like and you don't want to subscribe, that is okay. I am totally cool with you having watched all the way through. And if you made it this far, why don't you go ahead and put a puzzle piece in the comments so I know that you did. It's going to be our little secret. And if you did put a puzzle piece down in the comments, let's go ahead and for next week, I'll tell you what. I will, if you're interested, and you want to be a part of a drawing for a free tarot card reading, how about put a puzzle piece and a heart? If you put a puzzle piece because you made it all the way through, awesome. If you put a puzzle piece and a heart because you want to be in a drawing for a free tarot card reading, then go ahead and put a puzzle piece and a heart. And then I'll know, and I'll tell you what, next Whip and Chat, I will announce by random selection who the winner will be. I'll put your names in a randomizer. I'll even try and record the wheel spinning so you can see it, and then you'll know that I wasn't cheating or doing anything shady. I wouldn't anyways, but yeah. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you. All my members, all my non-members, subscribers, and just those who are here, thank you for all that you do and for understanding and just, yeah, you're amazing. I think you're amazing. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I will finish this square later, and then I will see you next week, and you're going to have some more content to watch here coming up. I just got to do some editing. Naughty me. Anyways, you guys, as ever, I hope that wherever you are in this great, big, beautiful world of ours, that you are having a glorious morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. All right, guys, much love to you. Talk to you soon. Bye.